Good morning, everyone. Welcome to a new market update. And today we're going to go into the fact that people are expecting the Bitcoin price to run towards several hundred K. That's a topic we want to discuss, and I think we might be reaching that. And we're going through some charts to just get some information. We're going through higher time frame levels to determine the levels that you should be anticipating if we are getting any correction at all, as every market moves into cycles. However, before we are going to continue, I would like to ask you to subscribe to the channel and follow me on Instagram, as I'm also posting content on that platform. So from here on, we are having a discussion, or I'm going to share my view why Bitcoin might reach several hundreds of Ks in the next bull run. I'm not in the group that's going to expect Bitcoin to run towards 200K this year already, as I'm expecting the current cycle to take longer than the previous cycle, which means that the entire bull cycle will probably last until 2023, somewhere in that region, in which we hopefully get some organic momentum or organic movements, as right now we're just going vertical. But I've put up the chart of Apple, which is actually showing why charts go further up than people are expecting, just like the downwards drop downs are further than what people are expecting. So what the majority of the people are expecting at this point, which is something about like 100, 200K, is probably going to be broken to the upside, given of a human psychology or market psychology and market cycles. If you go back in history, then you know that the people that were expecting a bull run to occur in 2015, 2016 would have never bet a price level of 20K per Bitcoin. And then you also have ETH, which rallied towards $1,400 during the previous bull run. Almost no one expected, or no one expecting that price to occur or to see such a rally, while people were expecting rallies to occur to 1K, 5K, maybe even 10K. So within that information, there's a lesson that to the upside, markets are irrational and go higher than your brain is actually expecting the prices to go. So if someone is saying Bitcoin could run towards 300, 400K, that's not too irrational. It is actually quite possible, given the fact that the current bull cycle will be longer than the previous bull cycle and will go significantly higher in price value, obviously. So what I see on the chart here is the Apple chart, which means that what we can derive from the information that we're getting on this chart is that we see this is the dot-com bubble, and it's just a very slim chart and a very minor chart or bump on the overall bull cycle that it continued to last in. What the information is there as well is that during this dot-com bubble, the price of Amazon, Apple all crashed 95%. And then you can see that it just started to accelerate and didn't give any real pullbacks within this period. So once it started to accelerate, you don't really get many entries at all unless you're going to retest the previous all-time high. That is the first lesson you're going to get from information that you're getting from other charts or other cycles, which is, in this case, you can see once something starts to run, you most likely will not get a great re-entry again, as FOMO gets to the asset and the price is getting pushed up, which in effect we also saw on the recent Bitcoin run. Bitcoin ran from 10 to 40K without any significant corrections. Of course, there is that 30% correction that is going to occur at some point, which might mean that we're going to drop towards 26 to 28K, who knows? But that is still significantly higher than the areas of 20K or 14K. If you refer that towards altcoins, you can also know that those altcoins start to cycle up like AV has been doing without any fine-tuned pullbacks. So once Bitcoin is finished running, most likely those altcoins start to pace up as well, and will not grant many re-entries unless it's above like 3 or 5x from here. So that's why you want to accumulate your bags through fundamental research and technical analysis once nobody is discussing it, because when the hype kicks in, your entry is already gone and you don't get a re-entry given the risk standards that you should be applying. So that's one of the things. Once it starts to run, it's gone already. Next, 2017 will look like this on the overall bump, just like 2014 looks like this on the 2017 cycle. And what do we see from here is that the overall extension upwards on Apple, Tesla is beyond ridiculous at this point, but it's going way higher than the majority of the people were anticipating. So once the bull cycle starts to run on Bitcoin, Bitcoin can run higher than we are expecting it to go. And projecting a Bitcoin to 400k puts it it puts it close towards the gold market capitalization, which is for gold it's about 12-13 trillion right now, which would be around 500k per Bitcoin. The overall .com bubble, which is comparable to the bubble we might be facing with blockchain, which is the adoption start and just the awareness that's going to be bigger for DeFi, for ecosystems. That the .com bubble was 12 trillion, between 10 to 12 trillion. If you, just for hypothetical reasons, put Bitcoin at a dominance of 40 to 50%, so let's say 50%, and you have 12 trillion, Bitcoin is already going to be high in the 200Ks. As just a conservative target, as there is always that dominance flipping when Bitcoin starts to accelerate, so it can overshoot to 350k and then go down. Which means that a Bitcoin at 300k in some years from now would not be weird if you compare it to the .com hype and the cycle we had back then. So if someone is saying that Bitcoin could run to that level given model A or B, that's fine. And I think that we're going to face that as well. But we're also going to be in a bull cycle where cryptocurrency in general is going to be exploding as the awareness and the adoption will come through ecosystems in itself. And that might be even bigger than Bitcoin alone. So what levels do we have to watch if we want to get a position, if we want to have that correction on Bitcoin? That is quite easy, as I'll just use a different chart as this one is a little bit too blurry. The one thing that you should be watching, or the only things that you should be watching if you're an investor, is you have to look at the 21 weekly MA. And it's critical, as in the previous bull cycle we've also been anticipating support on the 21 weekly MA. We also saw those standard 30% corrections, and those 30% corrections will still be occurring in the markets. Whether or not institutions are buying in, there will probably be some FUD regarding regulations or the dollar bouncing up in the short term, as I've just shared on Twitter. I think those corrections will still be inevitable and they will occur. So those will occur in the current cycle as well. Don't have the fantasy that it just continues grinding without those corrections. However, from which point we are going to get them, we simply don't know. What we do see is that during this previous bull cycle, the 21 weekly MA is the support. So that's the big reference point if you want to get an entry into Bitcoin. If that is lost, the next support zone is the 200 weekly MA, but that is way further away from here, as generally when the 21 weekly MA breaks south and we get into a bear cycle, then the 200 weekly MA is going to be the level that you want to watch. So what you saw during the bear market, we lost the 21 weekly MA and it started to act as resistance. That's just the critical moving average you have to watch. Right now it is at like 17k. That is not a relevant point, as if we are getting a correction within 3 to 4 weeks from now, the 21 weekly MA will be acting around 23k. So right now it's here because it's a lagging indicator. But if you want to get a position in Bitcoin, that is the moving average you should be looking at, nothing more. And as long as we stay on to the 21 weekly EMA, the price can just continue grinding and just continue accelerating towards that level that I am expecting it to end, which is around 300k in the next bull cycle. Tomorrow I'm going to make a Chainlink price prediction for this year, and I hope you have enjoyed it. Stay tuned, subscribe to the channel, and have a wonderful weekend.